the gist of a personal writing course that I invented at Rollins, and nobody else has taught it, mainly because there's probably not enough demand for more than one person to teach it, or nobody else wants to. But I love it. I enjoy it because it is so personal. And whatever the kids are writing, they're working out. They're finding where they want to go. Most of the writing, I think, probably in any year, all of it except the last one, is not assigned as far as topics go. So every couple of weeks when an essay comes due, you'll have had a number of things that would have stirred ideas that could lead to a specific topic, but it's your choice to write about what you want to write. And then by way of showing what it is that a personal essay is, I have an anthology, and I'm in need of a new one because this is now out of print, but it's called The Familiar Essay, and it's a good selection. It's a small enough book so they can read everything in it in a term, and we will feed those out throughout the term. Probably spend a little time in class talking about the things that they were reading, but the main use of it is to have them, and to try my best to ensure that they actually have read these essays, even if we don't talk about them very specifically. They are exposing themselves to the genre. They're getting a wide variety of things called personal essays. And as it happens in that anthology, there are topics or prompts at the end of each one suggesting how you too might write something such as this essay that you've just written, or it might lead you to. So I let that book do the job of putting ideas in people's heads. So that's going on throughout the term. There's some higher level grammar and syntactical things, compositional things that I feel obliged to put into this course, but it is a course that doesn't count for anything except as a general education requirement, or if you're an English major or minor, it counts as a course in that direction. But I didn't want people to come in there for any other motive except that personal writing sounds interesting. And it's a 200 level course out of 400. They've had their 101, so a lot of those problems have been taken care of before they come in. They're not necessarily English majors. They could be coming in from anywhere. And they're there just because they would like to do that sort of thing, what they think it may be. I once had an added feature. It doesn't even count as part of our general education program, but it did when it used to be followed by, in parentheses, a V, which stood for a values and decision-making course. We have those requirements. But I got to thinking, too many people are coming in here just to get rid of the V, and that they weren't all that interested in personal writing. So I really wanted the people who thought, yeah, this sounds good, to come. Well, then, as far as the spiffing up of their writing skills go, I use a wonderfully witty, sassy book by Constance Hale called Sin and Syntax. Have you seen that? It has bright red, devilish cover on it. Sin and Syntax. Spunky. Yes, it's worth sending off for. You'll love to read it. Can you believe this? That class after class of people that I've given this book to, and we will touch on it week by week or class by class, whenever the assignment is. I space it out over the whole term, and they're just working their way through. But it's on autopilot, sort of. It's so compelling or engaging that they enjoy reading, and it's filled with well-written exposition, but lots of examples and witty things. Sin and Syntax. You'll really enjoy it. They do, and presumably they pick up some good traits from that. Okay, so that's the compositional side of it, but the wisdom side is telling them at the beginning that at the end you will be writing your longer essay, a longer essay, not a research essay by any means, but except an internal research process that will be going on, and sort of subliminally throughout the course, knowing that the good life, according to me, is something you're going to have to be addressing yourself to as a final send-off essay. It should be your best work compositionally, probably by that time, but hopefully you will have found it a very fruitful thing to do. As I hope in a small way, just as the little sample that you've done here, that wasn't a bad thing to have done for yourself. They will feel that in a bigger way. Okay, now there's one other element though, because I could be more directive, I thought, about saying, well, how do you think about what is a good life? And probably, I don't know that I heard it in anyone saying here, one of our key words here, wisdom. But it would seem to be that a lot of people, if that were brought to their attention, would say, a wise life would be a good life. Whatever wisdom is, if I could know what that is, and if I could do that, it wouldn't be. It would be a good label to put above that life which you think is good. So, how to figure out what wisdom is? Whatever it was that got me there, I don't know how I discovered Cop McDonald, and he gets to be a guy we get to talk about today. There he has always been in the background, just doing things invisibly. He may even say a few things in here if he's not falling asleep. Have you learned to sleep on your feet doing this job?
No, I heard about a guy who's standing guard duty, you're not supposed to fall asleep, and realized that some officer was in front of him, said, "Amen."
Just praying, sir, just praying. Somehow I came upon Getting a Life, Strategies for Joyful and Effective Living. That's what that handout, I hope you all got that. Gives you some description of. And there it is. And you can see this is from Cop's WisdomPage, which you've heard about. And obviously he's been advertising for us here with the mountain range. But whether I found this first and then came onto the book, I don't remember anymore, because we're talking 20 years ago, I think, at least, this has been going on, that I discovered this book and I thought, this is wonderful. I will give you a quick view of what's in this book that makes it a useful textbook and maybe something that in some way you might find useful yourself. But even if you simply wanted to sample it, you don't have to buy it, because COP has provided it for you, provided it on the webpage, even in a downloadable PDF file for the whole book.
Yes, it's a read online thing, but since you and I got together and came up with this Wisdom 101 course, all the text is there in the course.
It is, right. And what's there as brief considerations after each, writing prompts really, after each of the chapters, is something that I devised, and I use it as a handout. And it, for instance, let me read you the topics. This is what COP would say in an outline form are the strategies or the considerations for a joyful and effective living, the subtitle of the book. Being a learner, chapter on that. Deferring satisfaction. Doing things carefully, each of these a chapter. Doing it now. Confident knowing. Our engagement with work. Appropriate planning. Seeking the truth. Feeling good about ourselves. dealing with reactivity, making death real. A few more. Transcending loneliness, being really interested, co-adventuring, doing this not just on your own. Sexual bonding, ooh, they look forward to that one. But the subtitle is a caveat. And then three more. Roots to joy, rediscovering wonder, and enhancing creativity. No, sorry, there are more. There's one more. No, there's a couple more. Real happiness, and finally, opening the heart. So there we go. We got wisdom and love. They enjoy this book, and some of them more than just enjoy this book. They find it just right, not unchallenging, certainly provoking, but nothing to stumble over, nothing to really baffle here. It's plain spoken, it's well written, and it's very accessible, and it's very useful. And what I've added are, after each of these chapters, and again, it's all on the webpage of the WisdomPage.com, chapter, and then my writing prompts after each one. So this gets read throughout the course, week by week, and again, somewhat talked about, or opportunity to reflect on things in each of the chapters, but not dwelt on, not studied exactly as a textbook. But there it is. I know they've been exposed to it, and I know it's working on them and giving them the possibilities of things to write about. And they're weekly, sometimes bi-weekly essays, which otherwise, except for that last one, are just not prescribed. They decide what to do, what to say, whether maybe they're following something in the familiar essay book, and they thought, I'd like to write something about that fishing expedition, or something like that I had in my experience. Or they get more philosophical or reflective, and perhaps take something from this. See if this still sounds right. But with respect to wisdom development, our tool is Kopp's Getting a Life, which we read in weekly installments, and they do keep journals, which I never look at, except to know that they're there. I mean, I don't inspect them. I have said all this. Let me summarize my response to Getting a Life. Yes, it sounds like a self-help book. And I sort of say that right at the start of the term. Say, yeah, okay, it is a self-help book. And even among 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, there's a sort of negative connotation to that classification. But I say it's a self-help book of the highest order, a how-to wise up book. So what this has amounted to, I think, is really an advertisement to say, if you want to get into the subject of wisdom, which has been so prominent in this whole excursion of ours up here, in this peak experience that we're having in Estes Park, but get nitty-gritty about it. What does it really mean? And how do you wise up, and how do you acquire whatever traits and characteristics and abilities and sensibilities that are necessary to be wise or to live wisely? I think I've proved out with these students of mine over these many years that Kopp has a good tool there. And even more so, you also know, now you have specific access to the WisdomPage itself, which you've heard him say is amazingly extensive, and he continues to work on it and develop it and add more things, and I guess all of you are going to be up there one way or another as a result of what he's been doing.
It's almost most. I'm just thinking it might be worth mentioning
Yeah.
the Skype session that we did and the exchange of letters.
Well,
up
as
on
far
the
as
WisdomPage.
as far as a kind of a pedagogical tool, once upon a time I managed to get Rollins to pay for COP to come all the way down to Florida from up there in the snowiest parts of Canada, Prince Edward Island, and give it be a distinguished visiting scholar. Spent about 3 days on and around the campus, give a big public talk, and then visit particularly with our class. The big public talk was called, and this was rather off-putting to a lot of my colleagues, I have to say, "Come here, Copthorne MacDonald, talk about wisdom, the highest aim of life and higher education." Now, remember, we're all PhDs teaching there. That means we're doctors of the love of wisdom, but we don't remember that that's the case. And so they scoff, a lot of them. Oh, yeah, right. He's going to talk about the highest aim of life and higher education as wisdom. I got to go hear that. I got to hear that. And a lot of them came and they heard it, and they didn't go away smirking. And that, by the way, that talk that he gave at Rollins is on the webpage. The audio is, and his slides that go along with it are there. So see if you smirk. I don't think you will. But then he came to the class, and that was neat because it was toward the end of the term, and they had pretty well gone through the book, and now here's the author standing before them. Or sitting. We sit in a big conference table, have about 18 people around it, and he answered questions and got into conversation with them, and it was a beautiful finale to meet the author and see and get it tangible. Since then, I guess most of the years since then, we've done the same thing toward the end of the class, except he's up there on a big screen on Skype, and he's seeing most of the class sitting around the table from one end. And it's more than like he's there. It's super cop up there. But it's really terrific for them. And why, besides it's just being an interesting thing to do and a thought for other people that you might know somewhere else, how to literally bring them into the classroom if you hadn't thought to do it that way. Their presence is really palpable. Good thing to do. Maybe Cop will do it for you if you use his book. I think that's it. Do you have any questions or thoughts? Well, go wise up, will you?